At my cousin's birthday party, my sister handed out gift bags, only to the kids she felt were worth it. My daughters. Theirs had a sticky note stuck to the front that said, "Try harder next year." We didn't cause a scene or make a fuss. We just left. And the next morning, my sister opened her front door and screamed so loud the neighbor actually called the cops. I wish I could say I was surprised. I wish I could say that when I saw what they gave my daughter, it hit me like a punch to the gut, that time froze or my heart dropped or something dramatic like in the movies. But honestly, it just felt like the thing I'd been waiting for. Not in some hopeful, finally it's here kind of way, more like a sinking, of course it was coming dread. The party was at my sister's place, which looks like someone raided Pinterest and made it real. Big balloon arches, all color-coordinated like a magazine spread. A dessert table so over the top it looked like it had its own social media manager. The birthday twins had matching shirts that read, "Born to Shine." Kids darted around, gripping these hand-stitched party bags like pirate treasure. My daughter held mine instead. She's 7. That morning, she picked out a sparkly headband she said made her feel like a whole galaxy. She gets nervous around crowds, always has, but on the way there, she practiced saying, "Happy birthday," in the car. Twice. She even made 2 little cards, one for each cousin, with hand-drawn stars and signed them with love. I was already proud of her just for showing up. My husband and I hung back by the food table, making stiff small talk with people we barely knew. I tried not to notice how my sister practically acted like we weren't even there. Or how my mom gave me that tight, glassy smile that meant don't start anything. My dad gave a quick nod and went back to carving the ham like it was some kind of delicate operation. Then they started passing out the gift bags. Each one had the kid's name in glittery letters. There were stuffed animals, bubble wands, personalized water bottles, tiny keychains with their initials. The kids lit up, tearing into them like it was Christmas morning. And then they handed one to my daughter. A plain white paper bag. No glitter. No name. Just a crooked sticky note slapped on the front in my sister's handwriting, "Try harder next year." My daughter blinked. Like maybe she hadn't read it right. Like maybe something inside the bag would explain the joke. She reached in. Pulled out a broken crayon. A used eraser. And a wrapped peppermint that looked like it had been at the bottom of someone's purse for months. That was all. I saw her swallow hard. She looked over at me. I felt her little fingers creeping toward mine, like she was bracing for something, like maybe she thought she'd done something wrong. And then the laughter started. The adults were laughing. My sister led the charge, with that sharp, piercing laugh she uses when she wants everyone to know she's the one in control of the joke. "She's been acting out lately," she said, brushing it off like it was some adorable mischief. Interrupting, talking back, crying over little things. This is just a little reality check. My mom actually chuckled. "Honestly, it's good for her," she said. "You baby her too much." Even my dad made a low, awkward noise that was supposed to be a laugh. The other kids laughed too. Not because they understood. Kids usually don't. They just follow the adults. And my daughter? She smiled. That trembling kind of smile kids do when they're trying not to cry. My husband looked at me. Not shocked. Just steady. Quiet. He crouched next to her, took the bag gently out of her hands, and said, "You don't need this. Let's go get some real cake." And we stood. Neither of us said a thing. We just took her hands and walked out of that house like we were leaving a building on fire. Nobody stopped us. Nobody called out after us. Not even my sister. Back home, my daughter curled up on the couch, staring at the glittery stars she'd drawn on those birthday cards, like maybe if she stared long enough, they'd form an answer. She asked me, was it because I didn't say thank you fast enough? And I told her, no, sweetheart. It was because some people forget how to be kind. She nodded. Pressed the cards to her chest like they were a kind of armor. She fell asleep right there on the couch, under the soft throw blanket her dad got her last Christmas, the one that says you are safe. You are strong. You are loved. I sat in the kitchen while my husband made us tea. We didn't say much. We didn't need to. This wasn't some new hurt. It was just the final one. After a while, he said, I took care of the payments. The rent. The grocery card. The electric bill. All of it. I nodded. Then I went to the drawer where we keep the important stuff. And I pulled out the folder I'd been quietly building for years. Text messages. Photos. There was a printed email in the folder, one where my sister asked if I could watch her kids for a week so she could go on a much-needed solo reset trip. I had said yes, of course. Like always. There were Venmo receipts too. One of them was for the time I covered our parents' property tax bill. They'd promised to pay me back after their cruise. They never did. That folder had gotten thick over the years. Before I closed it, I slipped in one last item. The sticky note. Try harder next year. I slid it into a plastic sleeve and tucked it right on top. Front and center. My husband watched me from across the kitchen. He didn't say anything. But when I looked up, he nodded. Not like he was giving me permission. More like he was saying, finally. It's time. Tomorrow morning, I'd be dropping something off. No grand announcement. No dramatic exit. Just the truth, delivered quietly. They wanted to teach my daughter a lesson. All right then. Now it was their turn to learn one too. Because this didn't start with my daughter. That's what really breaks my heart. It should have never reached her at all. She should have been safe, supported. Loved by her whole family, not just the one she was born into. But it didn't begin with her. It started a long time ago. With me. Growing up in that house meant figuring out who you needed to be in order to get the least amount of criticism that day. It meant learning to read the emotional temperature of a room before you ever learned how to read a book. It meant staying quiet felt safer than being honest. And pretending everything was fine was easier than explaining why it wasn't. Emily was always the golden child. No one ever said it directly, but they didn't have to. It was in their voices when they talked to her, warmer, lighter. In the way they leaned in to hear her stories, even when they were boring. Meanwhile, mine were brushed aside with a distracted, "That's good," while Emily's smallest achievements got balloons, cake, and a flood of family group texts. I remember in 3rd grade, I came home clutching a perfect attendance certificate. I'd pushed through every cold and stomachache to earn that thing. When I showed my mom, she glanced at it and said, "Emily got Student of the Month." "That's a much bigger deal," she added. When I finally brought home a B+ in math, a subject I'd been fighting tooth and nail to understand, my dad said, "Your sister never got below an A." When I landed the lead in the school play, they didn't come. Emily had a soccer practice. Not even a game. Just practice. But it mattered to her, so they said they'd catch the next performance. They never did. Birthdays were the hardest. Mine were always combined with Emily's, even though we were nearly 2 months apart. My name was scribbled next to hers on the cake like an afterthought. One year, they gave us a shared gift, a pair of rollerblades. They were Emily's size. I always felt like I was too much of something, or not enough of something else. Too shy. Too emotional. Too quiet. Too opinionated. I cried too easily. Asked too many questions. I pouted. I talked back. I didn't smile enough. Or I didn't smile the right way. There were no bruises. No shouting. Just this constant low-level current of "you're not quite right." And when I started noticing it, they called me too sensitive. When I was 15, I came home in tears after a teacher falsely accused me of cheating. I hadn't. I was devastated. My mom's response: "Well, you do keep to yourself. Maybe you looked suspicious." She told me next time, I should smile more and try to act normal. By 17, I finally worked up the nerve to tell my parents I thought I might be depressed. My mom rolled her eyes. "That's the new thing, huh? Everyone thinks they're depressed. You're just bored. Find a hobby." Emily told me I was being dramatic, then grabbed my charger and never gave it back. By the time I left for college, I was numb. I didn't expect them to show up for move-in day, and they didn't disappoint. A week later, they mailed me a card with $25 and a sticky note that said, "Don't blow it." I didn't blow it. I finished school. I found a good therapist. I learned how to name the things I'd lived through: emotional neglect, scapegoating, passive-aggressive control. And eventually, I started figuring out how to let those things go. When I met my husband, I still carried this fear that I was just too much. I remember crying during a movie and immediately apologizing. He didn't flinch. He just handed me a tissue and said, "That part hit hard, huh?" Like it was the most natural thing in the world. He was the first person to ask me what I wanted for my birthday, and actually get it right. Not because he guessed. Because he listened. When I first told him about my family, I made it sound lighter than it was. Brushed it off like it was just quirks and weird habits. He didn't press. But the first time he met them, he reached over and squeezed my hand under the table. Later that night, he said, "You weren't exaggerating. I let them back into my life when we had our daughter. Because I wanted her to grow up with a big family. Cousins to run around with. Holiday dinners. Grandparents who adored her. I wanted her to have the things I missed out on." It didn't fall apart all at once. It happened gradually. My sister used to make little comments about how my daughter dressed. "She's got kind of an offbeat style, huh?" she'd say with a smirk, like it was a compliment wrapped in judgment. My mom would pressure her into giving hugs, even when she clearly didn't want to. "Don't be rude, sweetie. Give Uncle Bob a proper hug." And my dad? He'd make jokes when she cried at loud noises or got overwhelmed. "She better toughen up if she wants to make it in this family." Said like it was funny. Said like it was love. I tried explaining. I told them she had sensory processing challenges. That her brain just worked differently and what she needed was patience and understanding, not shame and ridicule. I told them she was doing her best. They just rolled their eyes. "You're overreacting. She's fine." Emily called me a snowplow parent. Said I was raising a doormat. And every time I drew a boundary to protect my daughter, I became the villain. I was difficult. Dramatic. Too much. The second I stood up for her, they pulled out the old tricks they'd always used on me: belittling, gaslighting, cold silence. Sometimes, they even turned each other against me. That was the worst part. I once overheard my mother whispering to Emily, "Didn't realize I was close enough to catch it. She just wants to feel important. Let her have this. This." Like standing up for my kid was a phase. A tantrum. And I let it go. I let it go more times than I should have, because deep down I kept hoping they'd change. That they'd finally see her. Really see her. But they didn't. They only saw their own reflection. Their need to feel above someone. To hold on to the same toxic hierarchy that made them feel secure. And my daughter? She was just next in line to carry the same weight I had. But the difference now was, I knew what it was. And I had a choice. I could keep giving them another chance. Keep letting them wear her down, little by little, the way they did to me. Or I could end it. I chose her. I chose me. And tomorrow, they'd understand exactly what that meant. We didn't get much sleep that night. My daughter finally drifted off on the couch, her fingers still wrapped around the birthday card she made for her cousins, like it might still count for something. I stayed up, sitting in the dim light of the living room, watching the cursor blink on my laptop screen, taunting me to follow through. At exactly 4:08 a.m., I emailed the landlord, the one who manages my sister's duplex. I told him I'd no longer be covering the rent supplement we'd quietly arranged. It was never official, but he knew my name. Knew the payments always came from our account. He replied in less than 20 minutes. Understood. I'll update her balance today. At 4:50, my husband wrote the letter to the loan company about the car. The car was in our names. Our credit. Our money had covered the down payment. Emily had already defaulted on the payments twice before we stepped in. This time, we didn't step in. We stepped out. By 6:05, we were at the printer. Every message. Every email. Every screenshot from group chats where my daughter was called difficult. Where Emily wrote, she's going to be just like her mom. Oversensitive. Exhausting. There was even an audio clip. A voice memo from Christmas 2 years ago, back when my husband was trying to capture a sweet family moment on his phone. In the background, my mother leaned in toward Emily and said, "Don't bother getting her anything nice. She never appreciates it anyway." They were talking about me. By 7 a.m., everything was in the folder. Sorted. Labeled. Carefully annotated. Bound with a crimson ribbon I pulled from the bottom of the junk drawer. It was from one of Emily's kids' birthday parties. I hadn't planned that part, it just felt right. At 7:40, we drove to my sister's house. No words. Just the envelope. My husband placed it gently on the doormat. We rang the bell and walked away. We were halfway down the street when it happened. The scream. Raw. Unrestrained. The kind of scream that sounds like it's been waiting years to get out. I didn't look back. My husband tightened his grip on the steering wheel, and for the briefest moment, he smiled. Later, I heard that the neighbor had come outside in his robe, thinking someone had been hurt. When he saw Emily, red-faced and frantic, clutching the folder like it was radioactive, he called the police. She tried to tell the officers it was harassment. Said her crazy sister was trying to ruin her life. They looked through the folder. Page by page. And then told her calmly that it was a civil matter. No laws broken. Nothing criminal. Just the truth, on paper. By noon, my phone was blowing up. 39 messages from my sister. The first few were in all caps. Furious. What the hell is wrong with you? You think this is funny? Then came the guilt. We're family. You can't do this to us. Followed by the begging. Please. You can't just stop paying. Not over a joke. And finally, the threats. If you don't take this back, you'll regret it. She never said why. My mom called 4 times. On the third, she left a voicemail. You've taken this too far. This family's always had problems, my sister texted. But you just lit the match. What do you want from us? She sounded more angry than remorseful. I didn't answer. Instead, I sent out the folder, the full version, to the rest of the family. Aunts, uncles, cousins. No captions. No rants. No explanations. Just a simple subject line. In case you ever wondered why we stopped showing up. By the end of the day, 20 replies had rolled in. About half of them were some version of, I had no idea. One cousin sent a single sentence, broken into 3 parts. Good. 4. You. The real fallout didn't kick in until about 2 weeks later. The landlord kept his word. Emily was given 30 days to pay everything she owed or pack her things. The loan company flagged the car. She'd missed enough payments to trigger a full review. They sent her a formal warning. My husband saw the email and smiled. Just a small one. Nothing gloating, just quiet satisfaction. Then my parents called. Not me. Him. My mom's voice came through the speaker, tight with tension. She won't listen to us, she said. But maybe she'll listen to you. Tell her we're sorry. Tell her she doesn't have to go through with this. He told her the truth, calm and steady. She's not doing this to you. You did this to yourselves. The next morning, they showed up at our door. My daughter saw them through the front window. Her face went pale, the way kids go still when something doesn't feel safe. I met them outside. Closed the door behind me. Didn't let them in. We just want to talk, my dad said, his voice somewhere between pleading and annoyed. This is getting out of hand. No, I said. This is what consequences look like. My mom tried to cry. The kind of crying that has no tears, just a performance. I didn't budge. They left a card tucked in the screen door. It said, "We miss our family." I sent it back in the mail with a sticky note attached. So did I. Then I walked back inside, where my daughter was curled up on the couch, reading under her favorite blanket, her legs tucked in, her face peaceful. She looked up and asked. Were they mad? I shook my head. They were loud, I said. That's not the same thing. She nodded. That night, my husband took us out for ice cream. We didn't celebrate. We just breathed. And in that still, ordinary moment, there was something loud inside the quiet. Something unfamiliar, but good. Peace. For about a week, everything went still. Or at least, it looked that way on the surface. The silence had weight to it, like the buzz before a storm. My sister had gone full nuclear, sure. But after the first explosion, the screams, the texts, the guilt trips, she went quiet. For a second, I let myself believe that maybe it was over. Maybe they finally got it. But they hadn't. 10 days after the folder was dropped at the door, my daughter came home from school with a folded piece of pastel stationery tucked into her backpack. It had little hearts along the border. Like it came from a sticker book. Inside, in looping script, it read. If you ever feel sad or confused, remember Auntie Emily loves you. You can call me anytime, even if your mom says no. My daughter looked up at me, her eyebrows drawn together. Did I do something wrong? She asked. I felt the fury rise in my throat before I could stop it. This wasn't just a lack of boundaries anymore. This was manipulation. Calculated. Quiet. Intentional. I called the school immediately. Turned out my sister had used a friend's name to get access to drop something off for her niece. No ID check. No alert. Just a fake name and a polite smile. That same afternoon, I filed a formal no-contact order. With the school. With the district. With the police. I had cease and desist letters sent to both my sister and my parents. My lawyer followed up directly. 2 days later, a fake account started tagging me in social media posts. Accusing me of being ungrateful. Posting blurry old family photos with captions like, "Some people forget who raised them." Another anonymous message read, "Just remember, kids grow up. One day she'll know what you did." That was the last straw. I sent everything to my lawyer, who forwarded it to law enforcement. Not long after, my sister posted a crying selfie. Captioned, "When your own family turns on you." Cue the sympathy comments. Cue the sending love emojis. But then, the truth started leaking out. Not all at once. Not with a bang. Just a trickle at first. One aunt. Then a cousin. Then another cousin. Screenshots started circulating. Voicemails got passed around. People started listening. They saw the receipts, the same way I had. My parents didn't handle it well. They tried to spin it. Tried to rally the rest of the family by hosting a last-minute emergency Zoom call. I didn't attend. But I heard what happened. Someone asked why I wasn't invited to Grandpa's birthday last year. My mother froze. Someone else brought up the family fund, and asked why Emily had been taking money from it when she's the only one with a steady paycheck. Another cousin asked about the birthday party. If the story floating around was actually true. It was. By the end of the call, 4 people had quietly logged off. My parents haven't posted family photos since. My sister deleted her account. No dramatic goodbye post. Just vanished. And then came the letter. A desperate, rambling thing from my mom, written in blue ink on her fancy monogrammed stationery, the kind she saves for Christmas cards and wedding showers. Family is messy. We made mistakes. But in the end, we're all we have. She asked me not to punish everyone for what she called a misunderstanding. Said my daughter would grow up and regret the distance. Said I would too. I didn't write back. Instead, I framed the letter. Hung it on the wall right beside the sticky note that started all of this. Try harder next year. And then I went to help my daughter hang fairy lights around her new bed. She chose the soft ones. The kind that shift color slowly, like they're breathing. Her own breathing had changed too. It was easier now. Gentler. No longer tight and guarded like it used to be. She'd made a couple of new friends, 2 sweet girls from her art class. Curious, kind souls who didn't laugh when she needed a moment to cover her ears or take a break. She started sleeping through the night. One morning, over breakfast, she looked up and said, "My heart doesn't feel like it's buzzing anymore." I hugged her so tightly she let out a squeak. And then, one more thing happened. At the end of the school year, her class hosted a family day. Each student got to invite one adult to sit with them, eat cookies, and see their art projects. She picked me, of course. Her project was a painting, abstract and dreamy, with swirling galaxies and soft pink comets. In the corner, in small black letters, she had painted, "Safe is better than big." On the way home, I asked if she wanted to stop for ice cream. She said yes, then paused. "Mom." "Yeah, baby. You did the right thing. Even if they call you mean. Even if they never talk to us again. You still did the right thing." I blinked fast against the lump rising in my throat. "Thanks, sweetheart," I whispered. "That means everything." She leaned back in her seat, smiling out the window like she could finally breathe. Later that night, I checked my email one last time before bed. There was one new message. From Emily. No subject line. No greeting. Just 6 words. "Are you happy now? You won." I didn't reply. I didn't have to. Because she was wrong. I didn't win. I walked away. And for the first time in my life, I didn't look back. Maybe I went too far. Maybe I didn't go far enough. Sometimes I still wonder if I should have said more at that party. Or maybe leaving in silence was the loudest thing I've ever done. I wonder what my daughter will remember one day. And what she won't have to unlearn because I stopped the pattern in time.